Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving deep into a real-life encounter involving a concerned citizen, law enforcement officers, and onlookers, all captured during a tense exchange. We'll walk through each scene, unpack the rights, responsibilities, and responses of everyone involved, and analyze the actions taken on both sides. Now, here's where it gets interesting. At the end of the video, I'll rate the key people involved based on their approach to the situation. We'll look at factors like professionalism, respect for constitutional rights, communication skills, and how they either escalated or de-escalated the interaction. I'll assign each a score from 1 to 100, and we'll see who stood out positively, who could improve, and why. This breakdown will help us understand the dynamics at play and, hopefully, provide some insights on how public interactions with authority can be constructive and respectful. Stick around to see the final ratings, and let's get started. In this incident, a concerned citizen visits the police department to inquire about a recent incident involving police force. As citizens, we have a First Amendment right to address concerns with public officials, but it's important to approach such interactions with respectful curiosity. Here, the citizen keeps his initial questions clear and neutral, a good example of how to approach inquiries that may involve sensitive topics. During the encounter, we see a change in tone as an officer asserts authority over the situation. This scene highlights a common question: how far does a citizen's right to record extend in public settings? Under federal and state laws, recording police activities is generally protected as long as it doesn't interfere with the officer's ability to do their job. Citizens often don't know that while recording is legal, interference, whether physical or verbal, may cross legal boundaries. In many states, including Arkansas, interference with law enforcement is defined strictly by physical obstruction or threats. Here, the officer interprets interference broadly, potentially to include verbal questioning. It's important to note that, per the Eighth Circuit's precedent and Arkansas law, interference typically requires a physical element, such as blocking an officer or physically resisting their orders. This moment serves as an educational example of how differently civilians and law enforcement may understand these definitions. This situation raises a critical discussion about the public's right to record police, which is generally protected. A civilian standing at a reasonable distance, not obstructing or physically impeding officers, is typically within their legal rights to observe and record. This right helps promote transparency and serves as an additional layer of accountability within our justice system. The narrator asks respectful but pointed questions about the officer's actions in a recent case. This approach emphasizes that citizens have the right to ask questions, but it also highlights that questioning can be more effective when it's constructive and educational rather than accusatory. For those who seek to interact with public officials, focusing on questions that add educational value or raise awareness can make a more impactful statement. Lastly, the conversation takes a confrontational turn when equipment is reportedly grabbed and damaged by the officer. This escalation brings up questions about how best to handle tense situations. For civilians, keeping calm and documenting respectfully can protect both their legal rights and their safety. If an officer crosses a line, documenting respectfully and raising concerns later through formal channels is often the safest approach. This commentary was meant to inform viewers on the rights and responsibilities of both citizens and police. By understanding these dynamics, we can navigate interactions with law enforcement more effectively. Know your rights, but also know your limits, and remember, open dialogue and mutual respect remain essential in fostering accountability and trust between the public and police. The concerned citizen, rating 85 out of 100. Why? The citizen approached the situation with initial respect, curiosity, and a genuine interest in understanding a recent incident. They set the tone for a productive exchange by calmly engaging with officers at first, which was a solid start to the conversation. Positives, score, +40. They represented the public's right to question authority respectfully, showcasing how civil dialogue can unfold in public spaces. They also knew their rights, emphasizing their ability to record public officials. Areas to improve, score, -10. The citizens' tone shifted when they felt dismissed or challenged, which introduced tension into the interaction. Staying calm even when feeling misunderstood could help improve future conversations. Educational approach, score, +35. By questioning specific legal aspects and asking pointed questions about the officer's handling of the incident, they encouraged viewers to reflect on their own rights. However, maintaining a more consistent, calm demeanor would help convey an educational message. Final takeaway: overall, the citizens scored high for their initial respectful approach and their focus on citizen rights. A little more calm and consistency could elevate future interactions even further. 2. Sergeant Brown, rating 50 out of 100. Why? Sergeant Brown's involvement introduces a contrasting perspective on authority, and he handled the situation with mixed professionalism. Positives, score, +20. The sergeant approached the citizen and engaged with them, showing he was willing to interact and provide some level of public service. When questioned, he stood firm, displaying confidence in his understanding of the law. Areas to improve, score, -30. The sergeant's choice to physically engage by grabbing the citizen's equipment felt unnecessarily aggressive, especially in a non-hostile situation. Additionally, his interpretation of interference seemed overly broad. Respecting the citizen's right to record and maintaining a more measured response could have avoided escalation. Professionalism and communication style, score, +10. His abrupt tone and body language leaned towards intimidation rather than constructive dialogue. A gentler approach could have kept the situation more under control and modeled productive communication. Final takeaway: while Sergeant Brown showed some willingness to communicate, his overly forceful approach reduced the effectiveness of the exchange. Clearer, more balanced communication would have conveyed authority without crossing boundaries. The observing officer, rating, 65 out of 100. Why? This officer played more of a secondary role but offered a glimpse into how less direct involvement can sometimes aid in de-escalation. Positives, score, +30. The observing officer remained calm and maintained a lower profile, which contributed to reducing tension. By not directly engaging, they likely avoided further complicating the interaction. Areas to improve, score, -15. This officer could have shown more initiative by facilitating clearer communication or stepping in to de-escalate the situation. Sometimes, a neutral officer stepping in to clarify the context can help avoid conflicts. Professionalism, score, +20. The officer handled their presence professionally without reacting impulsively to the interaction, setting a more balanced example. Final takeaway: the observing officer offered an example of calm professionalism, although they could have been slightly more proactive. Clearer facilitation could have contributed positively to the overall tone. The onlookers, rating, 70 out of 100. Why? The bystanders or witnesses had a limited but notable role, as their reactions influenced the environment. Positives, score, +30. By remaining at a distance and not actively engaging, onlookers minimized distractions and allowed the primary conversation to continue without interference. Areas to improve, score, -10. In certain scenarios, bystanders can help support de-escalation by calmly filming or providing a presence that discourages undue aggression. Some bystanders appeared disengaged, which, while not negative, missed an opportunity to be constructive. Educational value, score, +30. As passive participants, their presence alone highlighted the power of the public eye in holding authority figures accountable without direct involvement. Final takeaway: onlookers balanced observation with non-interference. A stronger role in calmly recording or offering a supportive presence could have added more value. The department as a whole, rating, 60 out of 100. Why? Representing the system behind these interactions, the department is rated based on how well it supported public rights and upheld transparent procedures. Positives, score, +30. By having open access hours and a welcoming attitude towards citizens' questions, the department demonstrated transparency in theory. Areas to improve, score, -20. However, the department could benefit from more proactive training on handling citizen inquiries and constitutional rights to record in public places. This training might help reduce tensions and improve public perception. Educational potential, score, +10. The department can create a stronger educational impact by publicly supporting the public's right to information. Ensuring all officers are well-versed in laws that protect public recording and interaction would reinforce public trust. Final takeaway: the department sets a positive example of accessibility but could bolster public confidence by reinforcing its commitment to rights-based education and transparency. Each participant in this situation showed aspects of responsibility and professionalism, though there's always room for improvement in communication, de-escalation, and respect for public rights. By learning from these encounters, both citizens and law enforcement can foster a more transparent, respectful environment for all involved.